What's up everyone, Lance Hedrick here, and I think that it's time for a change. Now, I started this YouTube back in 2021 in March on the heels of COVID. And the original intent of this YouTube was to help baristas ensure that they had their job or to find new jobs or to move up within their company. Because during COVID, there was a lot of uncertainty about the future of cafes, and it was very difficult and very competitive to get a job or to maintain your job. People were getting let go left and right, and so I wanted to empower baristas in order to have the knowledge sufficient to maintain or to move up. So I made these early tutorials on milk steaming and espresso extraction and pour-overs in order to equip people with the necessary knowledge in order to either get a new job or to maintain their job. When I ran out of tutorial ideas, I started to do things with equipment that I had already purchased, like the Breville Bambino or the Breville Dual Boiler. And people seemed to really enjoy my deep dives on those machines and were requesting more and more equipment reviews. But at the time, I had like 9,000 subscribers. I had just gotten monetized and was making like $6 to $12 a day max. There wasn't really an option to buy a lot of my equipment based off of that money. So I quickly started a Patreon in order to help subsidize or to supplement a lot of those payments. But of course, it's not that easy. You don't just start a Patreon with a few thousand followers and make a ton of money. So although the precedent was set by our patron saint, Daddy Hoff, the idea of making a Patreon, making a lot of money and buying all of your equipment to lessen impartiality and bias is not as easy as it might sound. But I wanted it all immediately, so I started to just buy the equipment regardless. I bought everything for my budget grinder video, and a lot of those early reviews I was buying and buying and buying and wasn't taking free equipment. And this was obviously taking a huge hit to my personal finance. I assumed that I was going to be this great individual that was going to blow up and have all of the means necessary to buy all of the equipment immediately, and so I was thinking this is just an investment for the very soon future. But that, of course, did not happen. So after a few months of buying a lot of equipment with my own money, working my full-time job, I realized quickly I could not keep that up and it be sustainable. I lost quite a bit of money my first year doing YouTube, which is okay. I continued to view it as sort of an investment. Now then, the second year came through. In early 2022, I started to receive kind of free equipment in order to review them. And I gave a lot of them negative reviews or not super positive reviews because I wanted to ensure people knew they could trust me, that I was not on anyone's wallet and that I was, saying what I thought. And, it was good. And I still stand by those reviews without question. But of course, there are questions of, partiality and bias and whatnot that come up all over the place due to me not buying all of the equipment. So over last year, I've decided to first start taking sponsorships, which I'd never done before. People like Squarespace and people like BetterHelp and Harry's Razors and things like that to help further supplement what I was doing. Now, of course, I have a much better Patreon. It's much more robust. My YouTube makes a little more money, but it's still not what you might think it is. People think all the time that I make millions or even hundreds of thousands of dollars, which is simply not the case. I still have my full-time job in order that's kind of what I live on and what my family and what we subside on. And with what I do with YouTube and Patreon and sponsorships all comes back to YouTube. I have an excellent videographer that I pay full-time. I pay a ton of taxes for all of these things. I have been trying over the last year to switch to buying everything, but for all the requests I get on reviews, it's impossible to buy all of it. So I still have been receiving things on loan or things for free in order to provide to you the reviews that you're all wanting. But now I'm in a place where my Patreon's making around $5,000 a month, even though I pay about 40% of that in taxes. My YouTube is, it oscillates quite rapidly depending on the time of year, but it can make anywhere from $5,000 to $8,000 in a month. Of course, a lot of that is taxed heavily. I paid for the studio, for the camera equipment, for all of that. And so now I have been buying most all of my equipment. In the last year, over 2023, I probably paid for over 50%, maybe 60% of all of the equipment that I had to review. And in this year, the big change that I'm announcing now is that everything you see on this channel this year that I did not have in 2023 will be fully funded by me and my Patreon and all of that good stuff. But of course, I'm not going to be able to do everything that you might want. So for instance, I do not have near the funds to buy something like a Manument Leva or something like a Strata X or even machines that cost $5,000 and above dollars. That's just an impossibility. Now, I did buy like the EG1, the P100 and things like that, or I've borrowed things like the Monolith from a friend. So I do want to try and maintain some of that for the more expensive things where it's just an impossibility to buy. I will still be taking some loans, but I'll be very open about that, obviously. But when it comes to free things, as of right now, there will be no more of that. Everything I'm going to that I get will be fully purchased. Now, even the things that I did receive for free in the past, I give away on Patreon through competitions. So all of that's being liquidated. As this video is airing, the Lelite Mara X is being given away through a competition there. So if you're interested in joining some of that, because I don't keep this equipment, you can check out the link below for that to join. And we also have a really cool, bustling Discord that has blown up to over 2,000 people. There's constantly invigorating conversations going on. So I recommend you check that out if that is something you're interested in. It helps the channel, obviously, and it helps just everything here. As I've been through this whole YouTube channel, and I've made posts on Reddit about this, but I've been fully transparent, and I'm happy to show whatever is asked of me, because transparency is key. Although bias is an impossibility to fully rid oneself of, my goal is to be as bias-free as possible. So I pull in people that are local to me who are coffee professionals to help me taste sometimes, or to use different equipment to see what the ergonomics are. I often use my friend Rui Pedrosa, who is the Portuguese barista champion, and he often gives me his input on a lot of the machines that I test as far as what he thinks the ergonomics are, how easy it is to use based off his experience as a barista. Now, of course, I have my own experiences, but I like to take into account outside. Now, the reason I'm making this video is very important. I have seen recently a lot of people pointing at coffee creators and essentially saying that it's impossible to not be partial towards a company unless you buy the equipment. But they're all using a ridiculous precedent that has been set, again, by someone that has the capability of doing this. Now, this isn't to say that there isn't bias whenever you see free products. Of course there is. There's bias in everything. And even when I'm buying all this equipment, which I bought most of it last year, but this year while I buy everything, there will still be a bias. I have met a lot of these people before my YouTube days, before reviewing things. I know a lot of them. As for these big manufacturers, I know people, and a lot of times I know the CEOs, and it's because of these coffee expo events that I attend. And the same goes for all these other people who are coffee professionals and making YouTube content. So there's going to be a bias there as well. Now, that being said, I oftentimes have sunk some relationships, not intentionally, but there are people, when they make a product, they get really attached to it, and if you have negative things to say about it, it doesn't go over super well. So I will continue to be as honest as possible on this channel, and I'm always happy to answer anything. Now, I did do something new at the end of December. I started a second YouTube channel called Lance Hedrick Unfiltered. This is where I will be doing a lot more of the deep dive stuff that I've been up until now doing on this main channel. Long deep dives on equipment and things. I'm gonna slowly shift to be doing more terse reviews here, and in order to back up claims that I might make in these videos to save time, because I know a lot of you aren't fans of 40-minute reviews, I will put a lot of the deep dive things on this secondary channel so that you can have backup to a lot of the things I might say in reviews. So I'm really trying to make sure that I am making this information as accessible as possible, regardless of your attention span, regardless of the time that you might have during the day, in order to help as many people become as informed as possible on these machines. Now, I'm going to continually, review expensive machines and cheaper machines, and there's always going to be different audiences for those. Now, I still recommend watching them because I do end up teaching things based off of certain features maybe more expensive machines might have that could really help you understand extraction or espresso or workflow or anything like that a little bit better, or even to just get excited about an innovation that might be introduced into more affordable machines into the future. I'm going to be doing a lot more content on that secondary channel, which I do always live, but it's only accessible through my Discord. I send an unlisted link there, so if you're interested in getting to interact live while I make those, you can go there. We're going to try to do a little bit more bite-sized things here, and we'll do extreme deep dives on that secondary channel. My plans for this new year is to ensure that I am funneling as much transparency to you as possible, so please don't feel bad asking. I am mostly available through my Discord, which is accessible through Patreon, but even still, at times I'll respond to things on Reddit or elsewhere when people ask about relationships I might have with a company. Most of the time is completely false and is just made up. This is a place that you can trust as far as, as much as you can, but just know that there's bias everywhere, no matter what's going on. There's going to be things that I might already prefer and a machine might have it, and it's going to give me a bias towards that machine. Even in the phone world, where you have people like Mr. Who's the Boss and those types of people, they have their specific biases on what they just prefer in general, and it's going to come out in their reviews. So it's an impossibility. It's an impossibility to be fully unbiased, but I'm going to do my best to ensure I'm continually giving you the most honest and authentic reviews, honest and authentic thoughts, and I'm consistently going to be steeped in as much science as possible. A lot of you may not know, but I constantly chat with and collaborate with Dr. Jonathan Gagne out of Canada and Dr. Samo Smirke out of Zurich, Switzerland, who is a chemist and the first is an astrophysicist. And I'm constantly going over them with some of the speculation I might have or whatever it is in order to ensure that what I'm presenting is as qualified and as set in objectivity as possible. In fact, I want to do even more of this going forward. So I just recently made this video on Dr. Hendon's paper about turbo electrification and tried to break that down. I want to do more of things like that, maybe once a month, once every 6 weeks, about new papers that come out dealing with coffee that could help illuminate certain parts about your daily routine or could help you in general understand what the heck is going on in extraction. So my goal is as it's always been. I want to make as authentic as possible content for you all to consume to ensure that you are as equipped as possible for any purchasing decisions, for how to traverse your espresso workflow at home or how to make pour overs or what might be good or what might not be bad in the world today as regards your coffee routine. Everything's still going to be given away through competitions on my Patreon. So if you're interested in that, of course, check that out. Now, before finishing, I just want to take a second to thank you so much for the support I've received over these past 2.5 years. It's been mind-blowing. I genuinely never thought I would hit 100,000, much less 200,000, and it looks like we're on our way to 250. So by the time this video is out, we're sitting around 215 or something, which is just absolutely mind-blowing. So thank you so much for your support. I promise you, because you've put your trust in me in order to give you as unbiased as thoughts as possible, I will not let you down, and I'm just continually trying to improve my own sets of partialities and biases, and I'll never stop doing that. So let's have a good start to 2024, and I hope that you all brew something incredibly tasty today, and cheers.